Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. This is your host, Josh Chapman speaking, and today the road to celebration gets closer and closer. And we've had some big hitters in the last couple of weeks with our overseas friends, and we've got another overseas friend here. I was almost going to say the beard of truth, but it's the beard of knowledge from Blue Harvest and Rogue One. It's Hawes Burkhardt. Hello.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
I'm good. I keep thinking the beard of knowledge, the beard of truth, like the stick of truth. You know, the South Park stick of truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not quite as impressive as beard of knowledge, but that's not that's a nickname you've been given, not one that you gave yourself.
Thankfully, it would be kind of embarrassing if I gave myself that nickname.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the nickname makes me a little uncomfortable because Johnny Grasso pushes that thing real hard, and like I know so many people that know way more about Star Wars than me. I feel like I'm going to get challenged at Celebration.
Well, we had a little catch up with some of the Melbourne crew last night down on Chapel Street. Tracy Gardner was working. We went down to a bar where she was hosting, and we had some of the crew here. We had Andy Campbell and Dale Williams, Michael Zabo, Matt Grant, Catherine Neen, and Catherine had the Trivial Pursuit, the Star Wars Trivial Pursuit with her. So we started doing a little bit of pop quiz, hot shot, and
nice.
Catherine won. She was the winner. But it's just amazing how your brain just switches off when you get put on the spot about a question.
I know. Like, do you remember when Steele did that Collider, like Star Wars trivia showdown, like maybe about a year or two ago? And you could see it happen. Like they asked him a question about Jack Thompson, of all people.
Yeah.
And you could just see, and I can't even imagine how I would do it, something like that. I would fail so miserably.
Oh, just some of the things I think Catherine won in the end, but she got, she couldn't remember what a sandcrawler was. And then I think it was Matt from Blue Harvest, from Blue Bantha Milk. He couldn't remember who Lobot was. It's just these absolute brain farts that people have when you get put on the spot. And like I failed out on a couple as well. And yeah, it was good fun though. But it's don't put me up on a stage and put me on the spot. I just freeze up like Garth in Wayne's World.
Yeah, Johnny is always trying to set up me versus somebody else in Star Wars trivia, and I don't know if it's supreme confidence in me or he wants to see me lose, but either one makes me uncomfortable.
He wants to be the beard of knowledge. In order to be the beard of knowledge, you've got to kill off the current beard of knowledge.
It's like the Highlander.
Yeah, that's right. There can be only one beard of knowledge. Well, Johnny does have a beard. It's not quite as impressive as yours, though, mate.
I think that's just because he's got like a respectable man type job, and I work from home mostly, so I can have a giant mountain man beard.
So I was just we're recording. It's your Saturday night. Hawes has given up Hawes was supposed to go clubbing tonight, and he gave it up his Saturday night to come on the podcast. But there's always next week, mate. You can always put your glitter on and your disco pants and stuff next week. But,
oh my goodness!
I've just been down at the Camberwell Market. Who listeners of Steel Wars will remember from the Ben Mendelsohn episode where Ben was selling Star Wars stuff, or a Star Wars LP, I think it was, at the Camberwell Market. So it's like a flea market that we have here, but the area of Camberwell is quite a well-off area, so the stuff that they sell is usually quite nice. So it's dingy stuff. It's actually quite cool. So I'm always on the kind of the lookout for Star Wars things, and I've got quite a few things there on and off, but nothing today. There was a guy who was selling carded Phantom Menace figures.
Oh yeah, what was he asking for those?
He was asking $15 each.
Oh, so what would be the conversion? So like in US dollars, what's that, like about $12?
Yeah, it's about. It used to be Australian dollar was ahead of the American dollar for about 5 years,
right?
And now it's lower. Of course, just before Celebration, I think it's its lowest in about 5 years. So it's about 72, 73 cents to the dollar.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So those good old days of parity or more, they're gone, sadly. So Celebration's just going to be, well, stuff's just going to cost more, but that's cool. So yeah, no, $12 is no good. There were a couple of Power of the Force things as well, and they can't shift those. I don't know if you collect any of that kind of stuff.
So a friend of mine hit me up about 2 months ago and said, "Hey, my buddy's moving and he's trying to get rid of a bunch of stuff and he has this Star Wars collection that he's trying to sell off for like $50, right?"
Mm.
And a lot of times when I hear that, you know, you never know what you're going to get. So I said, "Yeah, if you can get some pictures for me, I'll take a look at it." And he sent me over some pictures, and it is Phantom Menace heavy. That's why I was kind of wondering how
Yeah,
much it
yeah.
was going for. So like lots of Phantom Menace stuff, a few Power of the Force things, a Star Wars VHS board game, like a board game that you play along to a
Yep.
VHS.
Yep. Like the
Um,
the Nightmare game. Did they have that?
yeah,
Did that? Yeah.
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 Um, and some sort of vinyl statue-y figures made by a company called Applause.
Okay.
Um, they're real cheap looking. They typically have like maybe a little bit of motion in the head or the arms, but other than that, they're pretty static. But there was a choice Dash Rendar vinyl figure that I had never seen. Like I've seen that Applause stuff
Yeah.
before, and it also had a full collection of the fast food toys from Phantom Menace. That was probably the coolest thing in the whole lot.
Yep. Not bad. Not bad.
Mm-mm.
So did you? So Phantom Menace stuff's funny because was there ever Attack of the Clones branded cards? I don't or figures or Revenge of the Sith. Was it just Episode 1 that got the? Were they something else by the time they got to Episode 2 and 3?
So, okay, the episode 2 figure cards were very square and they had like a blue card,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I don't know if they said Attack of the Clones on them. I can't
No, I'm just
remember.
trying to remember because I don't remember. I can't remember because you see, like I said, people trying to shift Power of the Force, and then a bit of
Hmm.
Phantom Menace stuff is turning up, but I never see any other carded 2 or 3 stuff. But I don't know whether they just put it under a generic Star Wars brand or something.
Now, for Revenge of the Sith, they definitely put out product in that because I've actually got a carded Revenge of the Sith Kiadi Mundi. And
Is it
it's
the flaming Darth Vader on the front?
Yes, it's the worst Star Wars packaging ever. Like the bubbles are like half ovals almost or something.
Yeah.
It's real bad.
Yeah, they just can't move. I speaking of Phantom Menace one last time, I got a carded Qui-Gon at the same market from just some other dude another time for $5. So I was a bit like, well, I'm not going to pay 15. And they had was it like an R2 and it wasn't anything particularly that I was desperate I had to have. But
Right.
sometimes you get lucky, but sometimes you don't. Now, have you got sort of a wish list for Celebration collecting wise?
Um it really depends. I'm kind of trying to wait and see what the Celebration exclusive store is going to have.
Mm-hmm.
See what they're going to offer. There was sort of a teaser a week or so ago that showed up, and there was like a Darth Maul jacket and some plush Loth wolves and stuff. And past that, I think I'm gonna try to get the Black Series exclusives.
Yep.
Um,
Well, I want to
and
get
the
the
Hasbro line.
Obi-Wan. So the Obi-Wan is the one that I want to get.
Okay.
Because I had the Episode 1 Obi-Wan back in the day. But then I had Eric Struthers on last week. He's like, man, you got to get the Darth Maul. You got to get 2 of them. And I'm like, all right, well, Struthers, he knows these things. So
Well,
I'll see how I go. It'll be all about space.
I'm telling you, buddy. I ended up breaking pretty close to even with Celebration last time by picking up some of the exclusive stuff and flipping it.
Oh, really?
And yeah, like on our drive home, I was in the passenger seat just putting eBay auctions up and came pretty close to breaking even. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
there is some validity in to that. Like if Funko and Lego have exclusives this year, you might as well enter the lottery. That's how it worked last time, is you had to enter a lottery to be able to go into their booth and purchase the stuff.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, but people are crazy about that Funko and Lego stuff. I got
So
lucky and won the Lego lottery last time.
oh right, cool, cool. Yeah, because I'm trying to having you on and Eric and Claire the last few weeks. It's just trying to get a little bit of insight to because I'm going to be a first timer going to Celebration in a few weeks. Just how the operation goes, and I sort of feel like I'm learning more and more every time. Because Eric sort of mentioned like you go in. I'm keep doing an Eric Struthers impersonation. You keep going in, and you get two of everything. Does it like do they scan your card or your pass every time you buy something to make sure you just can't get to the back of the line, come to the front of the line, buy more
Yeah.
stuff? Is it? Yeah.
So with the Hasbro line worked on a lottery basis, I think for the first 2 days of Celebration last time. And then on Saturday and Sunday, the line was just open to the public. So if you were willing to wait in line to buy the Black Series stuff, like the exclusive Luke Skywalker that they were selling, you could do it. And it honestly, I think we were in line for about 30 minutes. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I can deal with that.
And what
Like
they did is they flipped your pass over and they had like a stamp. And they stamped your pass, and you couldn't even see it. Like if they would run a light over your pass to make sure.
Yep.
And
That's
then,
cool.
yeah,
Well, I
so
guess
they
then because
make
if somebody
sure people
says, "Hey, you want to, give me $10 and you can look at you can take my pass and buy more stuff," it could just be there'd be no guarantees, would there? You know what I mean? Like, so I guess it's a way that you can't pretend or find it and rub it off.
Right.
Sneaky. Those toy collectors aren't to be messed with. Don't give them an inch.
They aren't. Dude, do you remember? So when Celebration came around last time, the 40th anniversary Black Series were like the big thing. They had just started coming out and hitting and stuff.
Yep.
And what happened was there were a couple of the bigger like toy sellers. Like I think Dorkside Toys and Big Bad Toy Store both had booths at Celebration. And they had cases and cases of these 40th anniversary figures, expecting people to come in and buy them up. Well, what happened was other vendors, before the doors open, went and bought all the Han Solos and the R2D2s because those were the two chase figures out of the cases. Yep. They were the short packed ones.
Oh, I saw one. The R2, just speaking of, sorry to interrupt, mate, but I was at the market last week and there was a guy who had a toy stall, but you could tell he was a professional seller. And he had an R2 40th anniversary on there. And he had a sticker on it and it said, I said 20. And I'm like, oh, that's not too bad. And I got closer and it said 200. And I'm like, oh, God, who's got $200 cash in a flea market?
Right. And so what happened was, these sellers were selling them for like the, the bigger people were selling the individual figures for like 15 to $20, but like day one of Celebration, R2 and Han were going for like $70.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, as long as it's I'm happy to if I can get the stuff, great. It's more from having a souvenir.
Yeah, same here.
I'm not kind of going, if I can get a chance to get more and I can, flip them, if I can be bothered to go to the trouble, then great. And, Australia, there'll be even less Australians at Celebration. So if I actually get to, say, there's some here in Melbourne, there'll be a collector who'll want it because he's like, well, I can get it. I don't have to, buy it from the States or whatever as well. So, if it turns out that way, but to be honest, if I bought two and then I had a friend of mine who really wanted one, I'd just say, just have it. So.
Well, that's what I ended up doing with my extra X-Wing Luke 40th anniversary from Celebration. Is my buddy Jeremy that lives here in Birmingham is a toy hunter extraordinaire. Like he has come through with some massive finds for me when I was still really hunting down Black Series, and like I kind of owed it to him. So yeah, I just took him up.
You owe me, bro. You owe me, bro.
Yeah. No, I mean I was happy to get it for him because he found some stuff that I could not find for the longest time. He drives a lot for his job, so he's always popping in the Walmarts and Targets and stuff.
Yeah, it's hard here. Like I there's a few places that I kind of hit and that I know you can get stuff, and a few online things you can kind of do. But I'm not a completist, so I don't sort of get obsessed where I've got to get the stuff and send overseas. If I find a nice little deal on something I don't have, I'll get it. But the compulsion isn't too high.
Yeah, I'm actually much happier now that I broke my Black Series addiction, because I was unfortunately a complete completionist where I was trying to complete a full set. And as far as distribution down here where I live goes, it's not great. There's certain waves that just never show up in our area.
Guest appearance.
Dharma the dog, always showing up to mess up a podcast.
You've got dogs, I've got children. So we'll see. You got in first. We'll see which one of my children ruins the rest of the recording.
But yeah, it's just so hard. Like, something about the distribution where I live specifically is really bad. Like, I'll always see on Yak Face's Twitter account or his Instagram account, like, oh, they found such and such. They're starting to hit toy shelves, and it'll be months before I see that same wave of figures.
Yeah, I'm amazed that the Archive series have actually made it to some Australian stores. So, I was expecting them not to be around at all. So I wanted to get the Luke, the X-Wing Luke in the Archive one, and Andy Campbell actually got me a Boba Fett. So I've got the
nice.
I can replace my my Chinese knockoff Boba Fett that I've got that I got for $20.
How was that? Like, I've always wanted to get one just to check it out. Like, I see those sort of knockoff sites.
It's pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the box doesn't. I mean, it's the older box. Actually, you know what? I'll just grab it because it's right next to me.
Okay.
So a bit of live movement here. So the box is the older one, the orange stripe.
Right.
And it spells Star Wars correctly on the front, which is good. It has Black Series. It looks pretty good. You can sort of tell the quality of the box itself. The cardboard's a little bit cheaper, but the print on it is good. It's not pixelated or anything. There's nothing on the side, so I don't know if the orange. You know how the current wave, they kind of have the names on the sides with the red light writing. I don't know. I don't have any other orange box ones. Orange stripe, the older ones. I don't know if they even had names on the sides or not. So maybe that's just...
They didn't. So it's probably pretty close.
Pretty accurate. Yeah, so the barcodes and stuff all look cool. All the branding. The figure, I haven't taken him out, but I have taken it out of the box once to have a look. But he looks fine. He looks pretty much as is. I'll be really curious to get the Archive one and put them side by side.
Right.
But he's got all these weapons. The paint job looks pretty good. It's because Boba Fett's got a bit of battle damage, and he's got some scratches and stuff. I think there's a little bit of room for error as well on the paint job. Because you're going, oh look, he's got a few nicks and things, but he's got the cape's cloth, and he doesn't look too bad actually for $20.
Yeah, there's the one
too. So
the one you run into the ones that are real hard for them to replicate in like bootleg form are the human faces, and some of those older Hasbro ones aren't great to begin with, so then take it a step further with the bootleg. I have one knockoff that my buddy got for me when he went to Malaysia, and it's a bootleg R2-D2, except his name is listed as the new role. And
the new role, Star Wars story.
You push his head down. It's got like a cutout in the front plastic window. It's an orange box one too. And you can put your finger in and push down on R2's head, and he makes a beeping noise, but definitely not an R2D2 beeping noise. And he glows red. His entire body illuminates red.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
I quite like the knockoff toys. I've got a little R2 on my desk here, which is a vintage Kenner one, but he was from the run when they had the coins on them. The last gasp. They so my brother there was a whole story about a whole bunch of these figures got shipped to Australia, and they ended up in show bags. My brother got one, so he got a whole bunch of those carded figures with the coins and stuff. And, they were all just, of course, ripped out of their packaging. And,
dude,
so a lot too.
So over the past couple of years, last 2 or 3 years, I've been slowly but surely buying vintage figures, complete but loose, not carded. That's way
Yep.
too rich for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and but so like slowly but surely trying to put together a full vintage collection. And to hear this show bag story, I've heard it on your show, I've heard it from Steel, I've heard it
Yeah.
on Geek Dudes. Like you're talking like figures that are very expensive now, like
Even
to get your
loose.
hands on. Yeah, loose. Like so that R2D2 you have, I think was probably a pop-up lightsaber
Yeah, he
R2.
was. He's got the little hole. The lightsaber's long goal, but you twist his head and the
Yeah.
lightsaber would pop up. Yeah.
Yeah, so that R2 loose with the saber, you're looking at 450 to 500 bucks.
What? This
Yeah,
little
man.
R2 in my hand right here.
Yes, sir.
Oh my god. We've got the he had the emperor. You know, the emperor had those little priest dudes with him, like his
The
buddies.
Yeah, the Imperial Dignitary.
Yeah, he's got. I think that one's still at my parents' house. If I can find it and you need it, I'll bring it to Celebration for you. You can have it.
Oh, that's not in the realm of pop-up lightsaber R2, but
No.
he's an expensive figure.
All right,
That
I'll
they
see if I
call
can
it the
find him.
they're called the last 17. It's because it's the last 17 figures that they made, and it's the original Power of the Force line. The
Yeah.
one that came out in the mid 90s, was Power of the Force 2.
Yep.
But it's got like, Han and Carbonite, Stormtrooper Luke, General Lando, things like that. Really expensive.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and they were just shipped to Australia and stuck in show bags, which is just crazy to think, But that's I mean that's part of the legend, isn't it? That they are what they are. So getting back to Celebration, how many is this? How many celebrations have you done?
This is just my second.
Just your second. So you were at
Mhm.
Orlando.
Yep.
What's your You've got to come from Birmingham and Chicago. I'm just trying to do my American geography in my head. What's your sort of commute? Are you flying in? Are you driving in? You and Jesse sort of packing the car and
So we are driving, and it looks like it's going to be about a 9.5 hour drive for us, which
hmm
isn't too bad. We drove 9 hours to Orlando. It's,
Yep.
right at the cusp of what I'm comfortable with driving. Like too
Yeah.
much further than that, and I would probably want to fly.
It's like driving to Sydney. Like it's just when sort of Americans and Australians have quite similar attitudes to driving because of their big countries. You can go to a 9 hour drive. You talk to someone from England, where you can drive from the bottom, from London to Scotland in sort of 5.5 hours. That they're in a car longer than an hour, they just can't handle it. But
Right.
yeah, we do it. Australia's a big car country as well because we've just got so much space to cover. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I love a road trip. Listen to some podcasts or some music and like
Mm.
stop whenever I want to, and yeah, no hassle of the airport. So that's my preferred way. Like I said, much past that, and it would probably be a flying situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it just the two of you? You're not bringing anybody else up with you?
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
You
Yeah,
and
that's
I.
you and it's nice that you get to. Are you guys married or engaged?
We're engaged.
You're engaged.
We
Engaged
have
to be married.
we've been engaged for quite a while, and it's not for lack of like wanting to get married, but we both something about the whole wedding ceremony makes us both uncomfortable. Like
Uh,
I'm not a big getting dressed up guy. So like being in a tux and having to stand in front of sit in front of a bunch of people, all that kind of stuff. And so like I think we're just going to do something low key. Probably I don't know, maybe this fall or sometime next year. We want to just get it over with so our families both stop asking us about it, but
surely, if you're already, I mean, Kat and I aren't married, and we would, if we hadn't have sort of had kids, we would have gotten married. We just haven't got around to it. It's just like, oh, it's just one more thing to just, who's got time? It's hard enough finding time to do anything, but it'll be a thing that we'll get around to eventually. But then we had another kid, and now that we're done with kids, we'll start looking towards that later on. But I was just saying it's interesting, because you're bringing your partner along, and you're doing this whole. It's like family activity kind of thing. Whereas, I'm abandoning my family to come to celebration. They're all staying behind. So it's good that she's just as into it as you are, really.
Yeah, she is a trooper when it comes to this kind of stuff. And, she's definitely a fan of Star Wars, but she takes a much more sane approach to it where she's not thinking about it 24/7 like I am, or fretting about it, or like constantly checking Twitter to see if they've dropped a title. And she likes, the social aspect of it. We have so many people that we're friends with on Twitter. It seems like I was actually thinking about this today. Like, there's the California crew, there's the Australian crew, and then there's like the Northeast crew. And it seems like we're kind of down on our little island by ourselves here in the South. So it's also like our one chance, one time a year, every other year to see all our friends,
Yeah. Hey, look, mate, talk about being on an island in the South. We're the ultimate island in the South. It was actually good last night because we caught up. There was a few of us who were going to celebration we caught up with last night. And then we just sort of, just sitting in a bar with Star Wars people, talking Star Wars, having drinks, just having it was, you know what I mean? Like, it was it was really fun. I'm really looking forward to that. Just that's the stuff I'm really looking forward to,
Dude,
more than anything, I think.
I'd tell you this. I have wanted to go to Star Wars Celebration since the first one in 99 and just never had a chance. I was in high school in 99 and then college after that when I was flat broke. And now, I finally have the opportunity to do these things. And the convention itself was great. I know, like, there were people that had been to several celebrations that were kind of down on Celebration Orlando, but as a first-time Celebration goer, I loved it. But my two favorite nights of Celebration Orlando was the big, like, podcast party.
Yep.
And the last night we were there, I think it was Sunday night, there was just like maybe 20 of us that went to a bar in Orlando and just hung out on the patio. So much fun. Those two things were like my Celebration highlights, even more than like the Last Jedi panel or anything like that. That was my favorite part of it all.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm really looking forward to, the social side of it. And if I can get into the panels, then great. But it really, seeing people that you've built rapport up with and relationships with and spoken to now, and that's the that's the stuff you really remember, I reckon. Like, everybody will see what happens at the panel. There'll be records, records of that, and it's great to say that you're there. But ultimately, the smaller memories will be the ones that are just for you and the people that you sort of interact with, I think, if that's not too corny, I think, but
the Last Jedi panel was really fun to be in because, once again, years of watching those on live streams and stuff and being like, man, it'd be neat to be there. But to be honest, like, the social aspect of that, being in line and hanging out with everybody and running into people you barely know from Twitter and chatting, and there's like giant lightsaber tournaments going on at like 3 a.m. Like, that was more memorable to me as like an experience than the panel. The panel was awesome. Seeing the trailer, seeing the cast and Ryan Johnson and all that was really neat. But I had a lot of fun waiting in line up to a certain point. When it becomes arduous and it's freezing in this concrete basement you're being held in and you can't sleep, that was rough.
Yeah. I was saying to Eric last week that I've heard the sort of the blog pods that Steel has done at the 3 a.m. where he's just like, "Hey guys, welcome to Steel Wars," and then it's just like, but Johnny's just like, "Yo, what's going on?" So it's just like the energy levels aren't quite exactly the same for everybody. Some people are fading and some people are high on adrenaline.
Oh, don't let Johnny fool you. Towards the end of that line wait, I was worried about his medical state. Like, I was going to call a paramedic. He was feeling it.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, the big sort of question is are they going to do overnights at Chicago? We don't really know. And, some people are going, oh, you can't take it away. It's you've got to have it. You've got to have it. The socializing. But I kind of go, well, if they don't have the line, you still socialize with people somewhere else. You'll still get the social aspect, but it'll be there'll be, there's no guarantees that you'll get in and things, and it seems to be leaning towards that they're not going to be doing overnights. It'll be a bit more of a lottery system.
You know,
they got to do what they got to do.
If they go with a lottery system, I'll be okay with it because I'll apply for the ones I want to go to, and if I get in, great. If not, I can't be like later. I won't have that regret of being like, man, if I had just waited in line for 13 hours, I could have been in. It'll take that off, and I don't know. So I don't know how pertinent this is or accurate this is, but I was looking up information as far as like medical disabled access for Celebration.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, or how that works. Because if you don't know Hawes, or know of Hawes, and you probably do if you're listening, but Hawes gets around in a wheelchair, so he has mobility. He needs assistance with mobility, and at these sort of big events and stuff, you can't take that lightly.
Right. And in Orlando, there was sort of a form you filled out online, and they reviewed it. And, if you got approved, you had to go up to like their guest services, and they put a little sticker on your badge that, was like signified that it was a medical badge. Yep. And that allowed you to do certain things. The one thing it did not allow you to do was not have to wait in line overnight if you wanted to get into one of the big panels.
I was tempted to ask whether that helped you at all, but I did just like, hey man,
I'm here. I'll tell anybody about the wheelchair special powers. You want to go to Disney? I'm the person you go with. You skip right to the front of the line.
I'm not going to forget that.
But this year it appears instead of doing that, they're just going to have like a specific accessibility stand or office set up that you go and visit and get a wristband at. Mm-hmm. And in the information for that, it talks about like sort of the procedure for getting into panels if you have a medical wristband. And it says I'm paraphrasing here, but the wording is something like some panels at Star Wars Celebration Chicago require reservations. A medical wristband does not excuse the need for a panel reservation.
So they're basically saying, hey, unless you've got a reservation, you're not going to get in regardless. So they're actually using the word reservations rather than, hey, just you got to queue up like everybody else.
Right. And I don't know if that means you need to have someone in line to reserve you a spot, or if that means they're going to do some sort of lottery system that gets you a reservation to the panel, if you see what I'm saying. Yeah, look,
in an ideal world, if they do a lottery system, everyone applies for a lottery system, maybe it's done on the app or something like that, so that takes that out of. And then if everybody's got a pass to their thing and they say, hey, Hawes, you got in, immediately your pass is like, you are approved for episode 9. You can just rock up to the door and we will scan it and you will get in.
Right. Or maybe it gives you some kind of a scanner on the app. You know what I mean? Like one of those QR
like
codes or something. Yeah.
Which is good too, because then you can't sell off your pass for that thing. I mean, maybe they just say 5 minutes before, here's the code, or there'd be some way that you could do it, because obviously, but I don't think there's going to be too many people who are going to try and palm off their entry to the episode 9 panel. They'll all want to be there. So yeah, look, that'd be the ideal world, and I guess they're just sort of. I sort of said this to Eric that they're kind of cooling their jets on it. They'll do it closer to, because they don't want to give people a chance to, buck the system or think a way around it or anything like that.
Find a way. Yeah. So the one thing I would say, as a word of advice, so if they do a lineup situation, right? Yep. And they announce that the episode 9 panel is on Friday, that's surely going to be the first thing on Friday morning. Typically, they do those big panels right off the bat.
So, like, when you say first, you seem like 11 o'clock kind of thing? Is that 11 a.m. or are they earlier than that?
Will was asking me that on Blue Harvest, and I have the hardest time remembering, probably because I stayed up for like 36 hours. But
I was just a big blur, yeah.
I want to say, so we got in line, right? And at 6 a.m, they started handing out wristbands. And then once you had your wristband, you had to get into another line to get into like the exhibition hall. and I think they let us in about 9 for a 9:30 or 10 o'clock kickoff of the panel.
Wow, that's early, isn't it? Like I wouldn't think
Yeah.
that John Boyega would get out of bed before 10 if he didn't have to.
I think they do it that early because people stood in line,
Yeah,
and
and you
I
can't make them sit through a bunch of other stuff 'cause they're all there
right.
for one thing. And it's a sort of a detriment to the other panels because if you have you have like an animation panel or a special effects panel, and you're just getting these people who are just like, come on, get over it, like, come on, finish up, we want episode 9. It's sort of, it's not fair
Mhm.
on the other people who go before.
Right. And so what I was going to say is if they do a lineup situation, you really want to get in to the episode 9 panel, you may want to think about having to get in line like Thursday afternoon because last time at Celebration, the first day of Celebration, we got there as soon as the doors opened and we're sort of just mingling around the exhibition, like, the floor where they have all the vendors and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And we were watching the 40th anniversary panel on their big projection screens that they had set up because we didn't wait in line for that one. And we got word within an hour of being on the floor, people were like, people are already lined up for the episode 8 panel for tomorrow. There were people already in line at like before noon.
Oh wow.
So, uh,
So yeah, a lot of it would just be so much better because
yeah,
and it also means that you just go and do other stuff. Like you actually
yeah,
get more out of the you go see more things and do more things, and ultimately, hey, you might buy some more stuff too because you're not
right.
just like, well, I can't sit in this line and go buy more stuff and sit here with all the crap that I've bought. Like I've got to be here. If I'm in a lottery, I'm either in or I'm not in. So I'm turning
Right.
up regardless.
And that's something Johnny and I were talking about is when you do those, at least for us, when you do those long overnight waits, you basically lose a day at Celebration between waiting in line and then pretty much feeling like you immediately need to go back to your hotel and go to bed after the panel.
Yeah, we were talking to Tracy Gardner last night about it at the bar, and she just said, especially for Australians coming over, because she'd been before when she lived in the States, but she said, when I came over from Australia and you're already on that weird time zone jet lag, she's just gone, it just knocks you around even more because you've you've already been awake on a weird long, overnight flight, and you're already a bit whacked out, and then
I
you
didn't
do
even
that.
consider that. That
Yeah, so you've kind
is,
of got that on top of it as well.
yeah. And what
We
day are
arrive on
you
the
getting in?
I fly I fly Wednesday morning 9 a.m. Melbourne time, and then I arrive in LA at about 10 a.m. the same day in
Okay.
LA. Yeah, so on the Wednesday. So then I fly to LA, and then I fly to Chicago from LA. So I think I land in Chicago about 2 p.m. on the Wednesday.
Okay, cool. So the day before, so you'll have a day to like
Yeah, to
hang out.
readjust and yeah. And
Yeah, hopefully.
I've done a lot of traveling back in the day when I lived in England, so I've done a lot of long haul flights. I'm sort of, I'm used to that feeling, and so we'll be staying up near Wrigley Field.
Cool.
We've got a place up there. We're near Eric and the Bad Motivator boys are about less than I was going to say kilometre, but within a mile walk as well. So they're nice and close. Where are you guys geographically in the city? Are you in a
So
hotel or an Airbnb or?
we are we're staying in a haunted hotel, Josh. I'm not exactly stoked about it. Like Jessie panicked because she saw like so I got her passes, right? And she was like, "Well,
Mhm.
I'll keep an eye on hotels." And she saw that hotels were pretty expensive and getting booked up pretty quickly.
Oh, they
So
were
she
in on it from the jump. They knew it
yeah,
was coming. So,
and she managed to find a pretty good deal on a hotel downtown that's an 8-minute drive from the
okay.
convention center.
Yep.
Um and I think about an hour walk is what
Yep.
we figured out the other day. Well, so she books it and then I go to look this hotel up just to get an idea of what it's all about. And I find out that it is the most haunted hotel in Chicago.
It's not like the hotel John Belushi died in or something like that, is it? Or
Ah, well, supposedly Al Capone haunts the bar.
Oh, great.
And there's a room on the second floor that is the quote unquote most haunted room, which apparently a lady ghost kicks you awake in the middle of the night if you stay in that room. And if I need to look up and find out the exact room number, because if we show up and they say we're in that room, I'll sleep in the car the rest of the week. I'm not sleeping in a hotel room and getting haunted by a ghost.
You'll be doing your own overnight line where you're just
Yeah.
awake all night. Like, I didn't even have to go overnight, but I was awake all night because this ghost lady was kicking me awake.
No, thank you.
You at least could get her on the podcast or something. She might have a few. You could ask her what she thinks the episode 9 title will be or something.
So what did you think about The Last Jedi?
She's
And all I hear.
Too many chicks. You're like, oh, even ghost lady.
I just wake up and on the big bathroom mirror, it just says hashtag not my Luke Skywalker. And I'm like, no,
No.
the ghost is an asshole.
The ghost is an asshole. Well, I look forward to getting the reports every day. I'm like, hey, Hawes, still alive, mate? All right, good to see. Is Jessie superstitious? You sound superstitious. Is she superstitious as well? She's like, come on, be a big boy. Don't worry about it.
This is the thing. We are completely different minds about this. I don't know that I necessarily even believe in ghosts. I've never personally had an experience where I was like, oh, I saw a ghost. I also know that I don't ever want to have an experience where I'm like, hey, I saw a ghost. Like,
yeah.
I can go the rest of my life without being abducted by aliens, seeing a Bigfoot, or being abducted by ghosts, man. Like,
ignorance
that's for
is
other
bliss.
people. Jessie, however, she has a paranormal podcast with her friend Rebecca called
Of course.
You're Creepy.
You're effed. She was like, she did her research before and was like, hey, hashtag content. There's a haunted hotel in Chicago. I can stay there and I've just got sweet content. Oh yeah, you need to ask her about that.
She's real excited, and I think you might be right. I think she might have pulled some shenanigans on me.
And now I was listening to Rogue One the other day, and I think Johnny said that he was sleeping on your floor. I don't know if he was just trolling you or not.
He is sleeping on our floor the last night. So he's got a hotel with Raj and Les from the Sith list. Yep. And I think they're staying through Sunday night. So he needs somewhere to stay Monday night. So he's going to sleep on our hotel floor. And if there is a ghost, man, I can't wait to see it haunt Johnny Grasso. Maybe that'll turn me around on this whole thing.
You're like, hey, it's not so bad. Well, we had to change our Airbnb booking because ours got cancelled, and the place we're in now actually has sort of a downstairs bunk room, so it's like a room with 2 bunk beds. So I'm down there, and Matthew Thurbin Turbo, he had his accommodation cancelled on him during the week. So he sent a message and said, oh, can I, would it be okay? Because I'd said to him before, when we were sort of looking at stuff, saying, you can get in with us. So he's been added to the booking. So he's staying in the boy bunk room downstairs. So there are actually still a few beds. So if Johnny does get too scared, or if you get sick of Johnny, you can always send him up to Uptown, and you can stick him in the boy room.
Oh, if that happens, man, I'll be like, you were too scared. You got scared and had to leave the haunted hotel. Big tough Johnny Grasso.
You had to come stay in the boy bunk room because the lady ghost scared you too much. Now the thing that actually happened between me talking to Eric and you this week was that we got confirmation that there's a Steel Wars show.
Yes.
Which is exciting because I hadn't I touch base with Steele reasonably regularly, but I hadn't asked him. I was a bit like, well, there'll either be something or there won't be something. But I was a little bit surprised I hadn't heard anything yet. So that's really cool. I'm sure everybody will hang out, at different times at celebration and stuff. But to have our own little clubhouse function, little home ground event is quite cool.
Yeah, and like I said, the podcast party at Celebration in Orlando was perfect for that very reason. Like, the show was fun. Like, I had fun being on the show, but like getting to hang out and just laugh, like my sides hurt from laughing so much and just ridiculousness that was going on. Like, it was so much fun, man. That's already maybe one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is that Saturday night show.
Yeah, for sure. It's really weird because, like Steele is obviously in Melbourne for many years. So I've been to stacks of his live shows down here and hanging out and doing stuff. And a lot of the crew who are coming over are in the same boat. But then the whole idea of going, we're going to something that's familiar because we've done it a bunch of times, but we're in a different city, in a different country with familiar faces and then a whole bunch of new friends. And it's just going to be, it's going to be really cool.
Yeah. It's just nice to have like that common destination for a nice handful of people, like, because I'm already a little anxious about the parking situation in Celebration, because we actually found out that our hotel, the haunted hotel, was going to charge us $50 a day to park. So for a week we're talking like almost $400.
You better get some Darth Maul figures you can flip to negate the cost.
And that's just parking at the hotel. Then I looked into like, oh man, if it's that expensive there, I wonder how expensive it is for parking at the convention center. So I looked into that, and it was going to be $250 for the 5 days of Celebration. You could prepay and get a pass, a parking
pass.
So
can you get a disabled spot near the front door kind of thing as well?
Nope. Nope.
Oh no, so there's no. Oh, that's a bit shitty.
They have disabled spots in their parking lot, but you still have to pay the $250.
Oh yeah, but at least you can actually get closer to.
Right.
Yeah. Okay,
so
you got that. Okay, cool.
What we ended up doing is Jesse found some parking app that lets you book parking places, and like you can sort them, and we ended up getting parking places near a hotel and near the convention center within like 5 or 10 minutes of each for way cheaper. Cheaper. So yeah. I was a little anxious about that for a second.
So do you know if you're on the guest, if you'll be appearing at the live Steele Wars event? He hasn't said any guests yet. Can you sizzle that, or are you sworn to secrecy, or you just don't know?
Buddy, I would, if I knew something, I'd be like, hey, I can tell you, but you got to cut it out. I don't know anything. He hasn't asked me. If he asked me, of course I will. But like, otherwise, I'm just looking forward to going and seeing everybody. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know what his plans is. Like at the one in Orlando, it was a lot of people. He pulled up a whole lot of people. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a similar situation, or maybe he's got some super secret squirrel plans going on. Yeah, who knows?
I did joke that it'll be the biggest audience of Star Wars podcasters at a Star Wars podcast. Everybody in the crowd's got their own podcast. So, I was just joking to Emily Lind that we'll just sit at the back and we'll do a live reaction pod at the back of the show while it's going on. Just content on content.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, like, he better find a mixer that's got like 72 inputs, and everybody just brings their mics from home.
Everybody's got an opinion. Chaos. Yeah, I'm gonna bring up sort of the minimum amount of gear I can, and I'll shove a microphone in people's faces when I can, and I'm not too fussed. Well, this is actually going to be episode 48, I think, of the pod, and then I'm doing one next week with Andy and Catherine and probably Matthew, just as our sort of launch off before we head off to Celebration. So I'm probably going to hold off on 50 till I get to Chicago. It seems like I might as well do episode 50 of this podcast in Chicago at Celebration.
Yeah, man, that's perfect. Yeah, I'm going to be bringing a new setup that I haven't used before. I've got a Zoom recorder that
cool.
and I just last Celebration I brought my full setup. I'm talking condenser mics, mixing board, laptop, all of it, and didn't hook it up and record one single time. So I'm hoping with the Zoom I can be a little better, because I actually need to try to get out 2 episodes of Blue Harvest that weekend, because if I do that, then our 200th episode will come out on May the 4th, which is our 4-year anniversary.
Oh, wow. Well, you can't mess that up. You got to land the plane.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'll just kind of go. I've sort of spoken to people, and even people who've been on here, Eric and Claire, and then obviously the Melbourne crew have all sort of expressed interest. So whether it's on the floor talking to people, or whether it's literally just where we're staying and we just chit chat, or I'll figure it out. Really, I'm not too. This stuff doesn't get too carefully planned, as you can probably tell. Great. Well, before we wind up here, mate.
Okay.
You've been a treasure trove of information. I'm just getting all these extra little nuggets for celebration before I get ready to go. So, what's your big point? I say this to Eric. Point to the stands. You hit your home run. What's your big prediction that we're going to get at 9? The big surprise.
Oh, what's the?
Even necessarily 9 at celebration. So, the announcement you think we're going to get that?
I'm gonna try. I'm trying to think of something that's not a typical go through. My go to rather. My first instinct is to say we will get the Obi-Wan Disney Plus series announced, and I have a feeling that's going to be a pretty popular theory going into celebration.
That's come up a bunch of times because every time, I think in the last 4 episodes, I've done a bad Ewan McGregor impression because we've talked about the Obi-Wan series.
Oh, I know. Here's mine. They will announce a complete episode 9. Well, they'll announce a complete Star Wars box set in 4K. So they'll do they'll announce the 4K versions of the movies coming out, and a special feature on those 4K Blu-rays will be the non-special edition versions of the original trilogy.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good one, mate.
I don't know if it'll happen. I was just trying to think of something that would make a big splash that I haven't.
That's got it all. It's got big splash. No one's mentioned it. People will love it. It'll be somewhat controversial as well. It ticks all the boxes. Because Fox will be owned by Disney by then too. So that's the little holdout, isn't it? Because that's the weird thing, that Star Wars is owned by Fox.
Yep, and with Episode 9 wrapping up, the third trilogy, I don't see them putting out a box set without doing it in 4K at this point, because we've already got the Blu-ray, and they've started putting some Star Wars movies out on 4K. Last Jedi and
Solo. I've got them both on 4K. I've got Solo and Last Jedi in 4K.
They look great.
They look awesome.
I still remember how crazy I thought the jump in quality was watching A New Hope on Blu-ray for the first time. So I can't imagine what they do with 4K.
VHS to DVD.
oh man, talk about it. Well, my first Star Wars VHS was taped off of CBS, so it was
me too.
Terrible quality.
We've come a long way. That's a good one, mate. Thanks so much for being on and giving up your Saturday night clubbing. And look, I'm gonna see you in a few weeks, so that's just awesome. See you and Jesse. I can't wait. Plug away all your great podcasts.
Okay, so I'm on 2 Star Wars podcasts every Thursday. You can hear me on Rogue One, a podcast for winners, and that's one with a W. I'm contractually obligated by Johnny Grasso to say it that way.
I keep calling him Jonald Grasso in my head for some reason.
Donald Grasso?
No, Jonald Grasso.
Donald Grasso.
I think I'll probably accidentally call it to his face in a few weeks. So get prepared, Johnny.
Dude, if you tell me that, and I will be following you around with my recorder, trying my best to get that on tape.
I could just keep calling him Jonald, like I think that's his name, and he's just like, dude, I think that Australian guy thinks my name is Jonald. I don't have the heart to tell him.
I'll put it into the opening theme song quotes, Jonald Grasso. And every Saturday, you can find me on Blue Harvest with my buddy Will.
Yeah, I love a bit of Will. And he's coming along. Is he coming to Celebration?
Unfortunately not, man. I tried so hard.
There's always a casualty. Man left behind.
Yeah, I mean, he went to California with us last year, so that was nice to have sort of like a podcast trip in that regard, but he just couldn't really swing making it to Celebration. He's got a kid, and he's a stay-at-home dad, so it's hard for him to swing that with his wife being in school and all that stuff.
I'm still amazed that Kat is letting me go. It's I'll be forever grateful that she let me indulge this stupid little dream to go over. Awesome. So you can find all our stuff at starwarsspeltout.com. We've got some t-shirts at TeePublic. Everything's on the website. Just go there. There'll be some merch that you'll be able to get from me at Celebration. I'm slowly acquiring. There'll be a special gift for you, Hawes.
Yeah.
Um,
I got to say, Jessie asked me. She said, "Hey, are you going to get that Mendo shirt that Josh is selling?" And I was like, "I love it, but I just feel dirty wearing it, man. Like, I don't know.
I've made some stickers with it. I'll give you a sticker, and you can take it off and pull it off whenever you want. Then.
Okay.
But if Jessie wants it, by all means, Jessie, if you want to buy a t-shirt, please do. I'd love it.
I think she's going to. She was talking about it again today. She was mentioning it.
I'll send her a link. Awesome, mate. Well, I will see you in a few weeks. Can't wait.
Yes, sir.
All right. See you soon.